Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Wayne, I'm going to remind you, you'll need to unmute yourself.
It's 7 o'clock. It must be. Want to welcome everybody. We have a pretty good sized group out there today. We have a good speaker, somebody with a lot of experience with trails. So it's 7 o'clock and let's get going. I want to welcome everybody and explain a little bit of how we'll proceed today. There's a lot of people out there. We've got somewhere close to 100, maybe over 100 people on this Zoom call. So the questions will be taken by chat. On your Zoom, you have a opportunity to write in questions, and at the end, we can stay and answer questions. But if we were in normal situations, we'd be raising hands in a live audience and answering your questions as we go. Start with introducing the board. Since we have so many people out here, I don't know that they'll show up unless they say something. I'm not sure how that works, but our board is, I'm Wayne Webke. I'm the president of the Yamhelas Westsider Trail. And Veronica Hinks, she is our communications and also our secretary. And Patty Williams is our treasurer. Ken Wright is a board member and one of the founders of the organization over on the corner. Steve Harloff has been on the board for some years now, and where's Steve? There he is, waving. And Carol Foley, you'll be hearing from Carol when we get to the talking about a survey that was taken, and she is our vice president. And Stan Premazich, who is welcome back on the board. He stepped off for a short while and is back with us. Appreciate his membership back on the board. And I think with that, I'll give a little bit of an update as to where we've been. If any of you were our board members, or not members, but members that were in the last meeting, my update is going to be a repeat. So some of you may have already heard this, but I want to start by stating our mission, our purpose, and I'll read that. The Friends of the Westsider Trail is a nonprofit organization that advocates for the development and operation of multi-purpose trails that support the health, safety, and connectivity of our communities. The long-term vision is a regional trail system connecting Yamhill County communities to each other and to natural spaces, with the Yamhelas Trail the centerpiece, making the south to north connection. Another kind of hallmark here is that in 2022, we're in 2022, that marks our 10th year as a nonprofit, as a 501c3. We've been 10 years going into this year. We were operating as a organization for a couple of years prior to that. That's where we connected with Yamhill County, and they became our partners, and they were partners up until recently. So 2022 is significant for us. A lot has happened in 2021, but a lot of it started with the elections of 2020. In January 2021, we went from 2 of our 3 commissioners supporting the trail to 1 in support of the trail. What this meant is that in January 2021, when a couple of things were coming ahead, and we were going through a couple of years of a LUBA appeal, Land Use Board of Appeal, and the last remand for that, hopefully we thought the last remand, came down in December of 2021. And it needed the approval of the commissioners to go forward. They needed to say yes to having a response to that. The response would be to take the 2 or 3 or 4 errors or issues that were still remaining and respond to mitigate those. What would the county do to try to resolve those issues? It was decided not to go forward with that. So essentially that halted that part of the progress on the trail. The other was we were in the master plan process. We had gotten the grants for the master plan, which was a 3-phase program, and each needed the okay or the vote of the commissioners to go forward on the next phase of that. That first phase, which was finished in December of 2021, was voted not to go forward. So the master plan was stopped, and what that meant is that we lost the blueprint for the trail. The master plan would have given us a blueprint, which would have given us how to cost out items like the surface of the trail, where trail heads might be, and what the cost might be there. How to what to do with adjacent landowners to make their concerns taken care of, whether it be fencing or some type of privacy plantings or whatever that might be. So that's and then in the spring of 2021, we had gotten grants to build to engineer 3 bridges, one large bridge on the first phase. The first phase being from Carlton to Yamhill, to build a bridge over a stream on the north end of that phase, and engineer 2 others. The engineering of the 2 smaller bridges was done, but the construction hadn't started. But it was decided that to stop the construction of the bridge, there was approximately 1 to 2 weeks left to complete that construction. And it was decided to stop construction on that. So those things happened as a result of 2020 elections. At the same time that the bridge was being stopped, the Chehalem Park and Rec District, CPRD, they had a long time vision of a regional trail system, just like we have. And we met with them on numerous occasions. They pulled together a meeting of people throughout the county at one point to discuss that. But they came to the, they approached the county in the spring of 2021 about exploring the idea of incorporating the Yamhelas Westsider Trail into their vision. They formed a citizen committee of some 15 volunteers to gather information, look at the feasibility of that becoming a possibility. And to this end, also a public opinion survey was commissioned. Carol Foley will be addressing that shortly, the outcome of that. And I'll give you some of the statistical results. And to add depth to their understanding, that survey is it gives a sort of an idea of what the community support might be. It should be stressed that no decisions have been made by CPRD at this point. The process is only in the information gathering stage, so they are listening to what comes out of that committee and still mulling over the survey. Adding to the unknown at this point is the possibility of 2 of our 3 county commission positions being up for election or re-election this coming year. So we go into 2022 with some unknowns, but we're still believing in our original mission statement and our purpose. We also see ourselves ahead of where we were over 10 years ago when we first started. The railroad right-of-way is intact. The survey shows strong support for the trail. And our approach is still that we see things as hope springs eternal. So we're looking at 2022 as being another rebuilding year. And there's a lot of things that we are trying to address. So with that, I'd like to introduce Jamie Dumouriez, and she put on in Carlton a bike festival of lights, and she has some slides that she'd like to share. It's kind of the enthusiasm for bicycling, and at least in the Carlton and the area around Carlton Yamhill.
Thank you, Wayne. Yes, my name is Jamie Dumouriez, and I appreciate being able to share a little with you. I'm super excited to tell you a little bit about the first annual Carlton Bike Light Parade, which we held on December 5th. So that was the Sunday following the Carlton tree lighting. You can imagine it was very cold at that time. So the mission was to get as many people with bikes with bright, colorful lights on them, and to do a little ride together. So, when I started talking about this idea, the question was, well, why in the winter? I'm like, well, because first of all, there's pretty lights out and it's dark earlier. I know in the summer we're waiting until 10 p.m. Also, as a community something, during COVID, people are not assembling in large groups, but here you're on a bike, so you're easily 6 feet away from one another. Anyway, I thought maybe 20 to 50 people might show up for this event. There were closer to 300 people. It was unbelievable. We had a 1 mile loop that did not cross any major highways or what have you. The Carlton Police Department led. We had everyone meet on the corner of Monroe and Pine Street. And we helped people finish decorating, putting lights on their bikes. We had hot cocoa and what have you. And I'll share some pictures with you, but I mean, it was unbelievable. There were so many lights, bright smiles. And going forward next year, I've already met with the City of Carlton about, well, first of all, how we can do improve and make sure to keep everyone safe. But you can imagine having 300 people showing up for an event in the middle of winter on bikes, that if we had a bike path in the middle of summer, how many people would show up? So I just wanted to share these with you. Thought it would be fun so you can see how beautiful it was. And the whole event was maybe like an hour max. So it wasn't very long, but you can see all of the lights and people just went to town decorating. So hopefully next year we can have competitions and anyway, maybe even a longer ride, but it was super fun. I hope perhaps next year you all might be a part of it as well. And maybe even have a presence, maybe the supporters of the trail, we could have a tent there. We can kind of educate people. We are working alongside Tommy's Bicycles in McMinnville as well. They had a tent, so there's definitely a lot of collaborations. And anyway, envision this bike light parade on the trail someday, I think it'd be very fun. Thank you so much for having me. And feel free to reach out should you have any questions. Wayne, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, and I'm going to hand it over to Shauna.
Okay.
Our next, Shauna Anderson. I'll just give a little brief as to who she is. She has come all the way from the San Diego area by way of Zoom, fortunately. Shauna, do you have some, show yourself? Or Shauna she's been working on trails for over 20 years down there. She has a bachelor's degree in urban and regional planning, Cal Poly Pomona, and she has a master's degree in geography. She's been instrumental in a trail system, a regional trail system in that area. And where she came and the trails came to my attention was the fact that they go through high intensive agricultural areas. That area grows a lot of citrus, limes or lemons, oranges, that type of thing, avocados. And that has really been one of the issues, or one of the things that our trail up here has been working with, is the farmers and that farm along adjacent, and how to meet their concerns and the impact that a trail might have on their farming practices. So that's what really brought us her work to our attention. I'm going to let you take over, Sean. I think I'll mess up everything you do, because you've done so much, and I've got a paper in front of me with highlights on it, but I don't think it'd do you justice. So I'll let you go.
Well, thank you, Wayne. That was very kind, very nice introduction. Thank you. I appreciate you asking me to speak here in front of your group. I enjoy hearing and collaborating and learning from other organizations that are doing the same things we are around the country. So it's great. So I am the executive director of the San Diego River Park. I've been with the park, as Wayne said, over 20 years. Most of that was as the principal planner for the park. And in the last year, a little over a year, I was appointed as the executive director. So really love my job, and I love the San Diego River Park, and I love trails. So I'm pleased to be here today. And yes, today I'm going to speak about planning and building a trail through an agricultural preserve. So I'm going to share my screen to show my slides here. Hopefully you can see that. So planning and building the Coast to Crest Trail and the San Pasqual Valley Agricultural Preserve, which you picture of the preserve on the slide. So who are we? Who is the San Diego River Park JPA? Where we are located in San Diego, California, in the northern part of the county. And the JPA is a joint powers authority. We are actually a local independent government agency. We are small. We only have 12 staff, including myself, but we are made up of, we have a board of directors made up of the jurisdictions that go through the San Diego River Park. And I'll talk about those in a minute, but it's the County of San Diego, the City of San Diego, and the cities of Del Mar, Solana Beach, Escondido, and Poway. And we also work with many partners, and our most important partner is a 501c3, just like you, the San Diego River Valley Conservancy. And we play different roles, we collaborate, and we work together to build this San Diego River Park. We also have a Citizens Advisory Committee. It represents 19 community organizations throughout the river park. And the CAC has 3 subcommittees that we work with: the Trails Committee, the Interpretation Committee, and the Project Review Committee. We have an office headquartered in San Pasqual Valley, which is exactly where the Ag Preserve is. And we have been around for over 30 years. We were established in 1989 and still have work to do. And our mission is to create an open space park within the San Diego River Valley that will protect its unique resources while providing compatible recreational opportunities for the San Diego region. And here is a picture of the focus planning area. So we don't have land use authority. We have a focus planning area where we focus our efforts to create the San Diego River Park. And it's 55 miles from the coast in Del Mar here at the beach, all the way inland to the headwaters of the San Diego River in Vulcan Mountain, which is near the town of Julian. There's many diverse landscapes throughout the San Diego River Park FPA, including the San Diego Lagoon at the coast. We've got reservoirs. We don't have natural lakes like you do. All of ours are man-made reservoirs, but they're still pretty. And we have grasslands and hillsides and mountains and forests, and it's a very diverse landscape. And I mentioned we go through several different jurisdictions. So on this map are in color are the jurisdictions, the cities, if you will, and the county that the focus planning area goes through. So it's a complicated, complex, really combination or between a lot of different jurisdictions. And that's why the JPA was formed to multi-jurisdictional to get this park through 55 miles. We have a San Diego River Park concept plan that was adopted in '94 and updated in 2002. It's quite old, but it's still very relevant. And we use it as our guide to accomplish the mission. And it's got river park goals, San Diego River Park goals listed there. So, but I want to focus tonight on the Coast to Crest Trail. So we have a regional recreational system that we're creating within the San Diego River Park. And the backbone, the real effort and focus is the Coast to Crest Trail. The Coast to Crest Trail is a regional multi-use hikers, cyclists, and equestrians that will someday travel the entire length of the San Diego River Valley. It starts just like the focus planning area at the coast and all the way inland. It's not all complete, and I'll get to that in a minute. And San Pasqual Valley is about right in the middle. I'm circling the area, and the San Pasqual Valley Preserve is right in here. So the Coast to Crest Trail, as I mentioned, is multi-use. 71 total planned miles. 49 miles are on the ground today. We are currently working on 1 mile. We received a grant last year for a expensive 1 mile section that includes a bridge over the river. So that's currently in process. But we've got 21 miles of gaps to go to fill in. And 4 of those gaps are within the San Pasqual Valley. We have other trails within the San Diego River Park, 23 miles that are not part of the Coast to Crest, but nevertheless serve an important recreational need in the park. This is the beautiful San Pasqual Valley. It's most of the land in the valley itself is actually owned by the city of San Diego. They purchased it decades ago for watershed protection, or water quality, I should say, protection, because there's a reservoir, drinking water reservoir downstream. And they leased the land to farmers. And about 25 years ago, they actually designated the area as an agricultural preserve. So it's a working, agricultural area with orchards, citrus, avocado. There was a dairy, but unfortunately it closed not too long ago. There's most recent addition is vineyards and wineries dotting the hillsides and slopes around the San Pasqual Valley. So that's been a great addition. That's where the Coast to Crest Trail is. It's through that valley. Here's a map of the Coast to Crest Trail that goes through San Pasqual Valley. So the Coast to Crest Trail, as I mentioned, has got 41 miles on the ground, and the longest contiguous stretch that's all connected, because the gaps that I mentioned, the 21 miles of gaps, occur not in one place, but in several places along the length of the entire planned Coast to Crest. But the longest contiguous part of the trail that's in is through the San Pasqual Valley, and then west of here for probably about, I think one way, it's about 25 miles, about 30 miles one way. So it's a really important part of the Coast to Crest Trail. There's other trails connecting into the part that's through San Pasqual Valley. So we recently, about 10 years ago, created this trail, Old Coach Trail, that goes into and connects to the city of Poway's trail system. And we have the Highland Valley Trail over here. And we have a major bridge next to the freeway. But the heart of it is the Coast to Crest Trail through the valley. It's a working agricultural area, so we like to promote and try and promote and advertise and really explain and interpret the importance of agricultural in San Diego County. And we do that through interpretive signage and information on our website and trails. And we continue to work with the farmers in the San Pasqual Valley. It's a working farm, well, not farm, but working area. Here's some photographs of the Coast to Crest Trail that exists today. I mentioned there used to be a dairy. The trail went right past it. It was really neat to go right past that dairy, but the owners closed about 10 years ago. So, but there is some, I think some new dairy activity that's starting up soon. And so this is the trail that's adjacent to some row, not an orchard, but more cut crops and trees. It goes through. One of the ag uses in the area is big trees. So it's, you know, box trees that are sold to developers and construction, you know, whatever, and developments. And so nursery crops is a big thing. Sod farm, there's a sod farm in the San Pasqual Valley. So quite a diverse mix of ag uses. So while we were planning the Coast to Crest Trail with the lessees, the farmers out there, many concerns were raised. It took us several years to get the trail planned and built in this area. When I first started, it was my first project when I started at the San Diego River Park 20 years ago. And I thought to myself, oh, everybody loves trails. This will be a piece of cake. Well, no, it was not. It was a big challenge, but we worked through it. And we made a lot of several accommodations. Unfortunately, I can't see the top of my screen and I can't remember what I wrote there, but hopefully you all can see it. Some of those accommodations include special fencing. So one of the big concerns that was raised over and over again was the fear of theft from trail users. And we really needed to address that concern. I have to say that the trail's been in for, 20 years, almost 20 years now, and we've not had an issue. Theft has not been an issue. But there was a lot of concern about it at the time. And so we designed the special fencing that was an additional deterrent besides just your basic lodge pole to keep people from, trying to climb through the fence and pick the oranges, for example. So the other thing we have special signage in the area that notifies trail users that it's an agricultural preserve and theft is not tolerated. The other main accommodation we made was agricultural spraying. So they do pesticide spraying on occasion throughout the year on mostly the groves, the orange groves. And so we came up with a system, a protocol with the farmers to close the trail. So they notify us in advance that they're going to be doing spraying. Our rangers, we have a ranger program. We have, full-time rangers that work for us. They go out there and they post signs and they close the trail temporarily. This is just for a few hours during the week usually. So they can do their spraying without any disruptions or impacts to anybody. And then we open the trail back up again. So it's been working fine. Once in a while there's a glitch, but most of the time it works just fine. By glitch, I mean there's a communication glitch or something, but it has not been a problem. The other accommodation we made was in order to squeeze the trail through some difficult areas, we had to kind of get too close to the orange trees, like you see here. And so we were so close to some of them that they considered them a loss. The farmers just considered them a loss. So we had to pay for trees that were no longer too close to the trail or no longer able to be effectively or efficiently watered, for example, or harvested. And so we paid for that loss. So that was another accommodation. And I'm pleased to say that there really has been very few incidents with the trail in the agricultural preserve. This is a neat slide because it's also in a floodplain, and our trail is designed to withstand flooding. So, you know, it's impervious, or I should say pervious. And although this picture is taken of the creek crossing across the San Diego River. And so when we get heavy rains like this is, I think, from 2017, a lot of storms in a row, the valley eventually floods, and then, you know, the trail is closed during this time. We also close the trail during heavy rains. I mean, heavy for San Diego. Okay, probably not heavy for you guys. All right, so now it was kind of good timing when I was contacted by Carol about speaking to your group, because we are now just started, you know, the next phase of getting this Coast to Crest Trail through the eastern part of the San Pasqual Valley. So this in green is the area of the Coast to Crest Trail that's already there. But in red is a gap. It's about 4 miles, and it goes through this eastern part that's still got mostly groves, lemon trees, and avocado, and then steep terrain all the way to get to the other side. So we just did a site walk with the farmer who leases this area from the city just a few weeks ago. This is a photograph of this area. So really, this is a difficult trail to do, which is why it's probably one of the few gaps that are still remaining, because we've got the river, we've got Highway 78, we've got a lot of groves, and they're really squeezed in here with steep terrain as well. And there's a lot of sensitive species as well that thrive along the San Diego River. That we have to be mindful of. We have to get many permits from all sorts of resources agencies. So it's really a challenge. So here's some photographs from our most recent walkthrough. There's limited room for the trail. So we're gonna walk through this area probably multiple occasions with the farmer to try and figure out an alignment that works for him and that works for us. So the ag roads here are pretty wide, but when they do agricultural spraying or harvesting or whatever, they need this space because they have big trucks that come through here and top off the trees. You know, they're flat at the top, top them off with big machinery. We're near the river. You can't really see it very well in this picture, but there's non-native species and erosion problems in the river along this stretch. So, you know, this bank is unstable. There's stormwater runoff that comes off the grove and causes this erosion. And I mentioned that there's Highway 78. Well, we have to cross Highway 78. So the plan is to cross under it. Our staging area is nearby in this lower right photograph, the existing trailhead that we're connecting to. And so there would be an underpass under the Highway 78. There's steep terrain. I'm not an engineer, but this slope here doesn't look stable to me. There's a highway right above here. There's Matt Whitman, the farmer, for this area standing there. And there's just very limited room for the trail. Another example of the steep and unstable slope with the highway above it. Somehow we're going to have to get this trail through here. And then once we get past the groves, we have a connection point that I'm circling right here where the other trailhead is. And we have to go through very steep terrain. We've done a feasibility study for part of this area, and it requires retaining walls to get the trail through there. So I just I'm almost finished here. I just jotted down a few tips that we did along the way. We reach out to, and I know you're doing this, it's obvious from what I know about your organization so far, reach out to the agricultural community early and often. Through that continual communication and reaching out to them, they will know that you're not going to go away. This idea is not going to go away. It's a regional plan. It's a regional focus, and it's important to keep communication open. Meet with them often and listen to their concerns. Know the area. They know it very well, and you need to know it just as well, and walk the route with them many times, and explore possibilities. Have solutions to address their concerns, have options. And this is really important. Have a solid plan for trail maintenance and patrols. That is a big concern, that you're going to put a trail in here, or we are going to put a trail in, and how is it going to be maintained? Who's going to watch over it? Do you have patrols? How are you going to close it at night? Things like this that are very concerning to them and their livelihood and their investment. So it's important to have a solid plan and to implement it, and reassure them that you've got the resources to do that. Expect to make special accommodations, of course, as I talked about. Try to elicit at least one ally supporter among the agricultural community that can help. So there were several farmers in the San Pasqual Valley that really were just flat out opposed to the trail. But one of the farmers, in fact, Matt Whitman, I just mentioned, he's a cyclist himself. He likes trails. And he wants to protect his operation and doesn't want the trail to interfere with it, but he's not anti-trail and enjoys using trails. So that's important. And then, of course, enlist the help of partners that support your trail. So then they know it's not just this 501c3 organization's idea, but it's a regional desire, a regional priority, and has the support of elected officials. Although I just heard Wayne's report that was just discouraging, but I know things change, and try to enlist the help of as many partners as you can that will show that this is an important effort and an important trail, and it's not just a few people's idea, but it's something that the community really wants. And that's all I have. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or explain something in more detail. Thank you.
Shauna, thank you. Are you going to be able to stay on to the question answer portion? I'm
going to try. I'm
Okay.
going to try to. I'm
Okay.
not sure how long that'd be, but I can try.
Okay. We should be there in about 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay.
I can hang in.
Okay. So we'll have Carol go over the public opinion survey that we mentioned a couple of different times, and if some of you haven't seen that or heard of that, it was done last late spring and summer. Carol?
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? So last summer, 2021, it seemed important to find out just how much support there is for recreation, and especially for the Yamhelas Westsider Trail by the citizens of the county. Chehalis Parks and Recreation District also wanted to document the level of support as part of their assessment of a role that they might play. And so we supported that, and we arranged for an unbiased, independent phone survey that was conducted by Nelson Research. They're a public opinion survey research firm in Salem, Oregon. And I'm going to take you through some of the highlights from the survey results. It was based on a random sample of 400 registered voters throughout the county. Next slide. So the survey found that there is a strong majority, 64% of people in the county, who favor development of a trail that connects Carlton, Yamhill, and Gaston. That majority holds whether you're male or female, young or old, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, whether you vote often or seldom, which community you live in. There was a minority, about 16%, who opposed developing the trail. And then there's an even larger group, 20%, who are not sure. Okay, so next, we're going to take a look, next slide. Respondents were given a series of benefits and concerns that have been raised about the trail. And then they were asked again about their level of favoring or opposing the trail. There was an even higher level of favorability. It went from 64% to 70%. The number of people who were unsure decreased, but the number of people who are opposed increased as well. Despite that, despite the opposition, a sizable majority believe that the trail is a good investment of public dollars. That was 63%. They think it will bring additional dollars into the local economy. That was 73%. And that it's a good project if farmers' concerns are addressed and farming practices are not negatively impacted. That was 78%. When they were asked, the whole group of 400, when they were asked if they'd heard, seen, or read information about the trail, a little more than half say that they had not. And that just underscores the importance of our current focus that we've been talking about to get the word out to people via social media, newsletters, events, and other media. Our goal is to increase the number of people who are aware of the trail and its many benefits to recreation, the economy, health, and safety. Okay, these are some compelling facts that are important to our supporters and that are guiding our outreach. Additional hiking, biking, and horseback riding trails would provide more recreational opportunities for local residents. 71% of the county residents we surveyed believe Yamhill County needs more outdoor recreational opportunities and trails for local residents to enjoy. Next slide. Park managers would use fencing, gates, trail closures, signage, and other methods similar to what Shauna was talking about to ensure that farming is not disrupted and crops not contaminated. The trail is located on public land for the most part, with the exceptions that Ken raised, and does not require the taking of any private land. This is a rural trail. It's not an urban trail, and the safety issues are fewer. Regulations and monitoring of the trail by volunteers, maintenance staff, and law enforcement can prevent problems, as has been proven on other rural trails. So best practices will give safety to surrounding homes, schools, and businesses while offering alternatives to homeless people. Okay. Next slide. See what happened there. Next to the last slide, Yamhelas Westsider Trail is good for our local economy. So it will bring in additional dollars to the local economy by attracting visitors who spend money on food and lodging and shopping. A recent economic study found that outdoor recreation brought nearly $69 million in economic spending into Yamhill County in 2019. Finally, last slide, the process to develop the trail must ensure that concerns are addressed. And most importantly, before the actual development of the trail, all concerned parties would be invited to participate in the planning process to find solutions to individual issues and concerns. And community members and adjacent landowners can put forth their concerns so that methods to address them are part of the design and management of the trail. So there I'll stop. And again, questions are welcome. And if you have any about the survey, I'll try to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Well, you were right on time, I think. So let's go into the question and answer. Now, this will be by chat. So on your Zoom screen, there's a place for you to write in your questions, and then they'll be posed, and we'll take them as they come in. Is that how it's going to work there, Jamie?
Yeah,
So Veronica, I believe you were going to field the questions, correct?
she's on mute.
Veronica?
Yeah, sorry, my arrow was still over it, so it went on and off and on. Anyway, if people submit their questions via the chat function, then I will moderate those and direct them to the Yamhelas Trail person that I think is best prepared to answer.
All right. There are some questions in the chat box.
Oh, I can't see those. I've got chat up, but I'm not seeing them. Okay, there we go. So yes, the question is, do we have support from any local farmers? And the short answer is yes, we do. We have a hazelnut farmer on our board, as a matter of fact, and I think I will address that question to him. So Steve Wick, if you are still on and have any further comments to that question, that would be great.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I've been farming hazelnuts and wheat and ornamentals and Christmas trees in Yamhill County since '92. And previous to that, I was farming in Washington County, and my brothers and I had a 200-acre tree farm that we also managed. I don't see any reason, just like Shauna was saying, I don't see any reason that any farm in Yamhill County can't exist next to the trail. All it takes is to work with the people. Exactly what Shauna was saying, you've got to, one of the biggest problems that the farmers along the trail are afraid of right now is spraying. And again, if you do just like what they did down there in the San Pasquale Valley, shut the trail down while they're spraying it, or they're spraying the edges and stuff. So I think all of those things can be mitigated. The people right along the side of the trail right now are very, very concerned. And one of our commissioners, Casey Kula, offered to sit down with them and work through every one of their concerns. But they had a lawyer that said, no, we don't want to do that. We're going to take this to court. So unfortunately, we haven't been given the opportunity to work these problems out.
Steve, this is Stan Primzich. When I was still a commissioner, I did meet with a group of the farmers. This was prior to the lawsuit. And they specified that there was 83 hours in the entire year that the spraying would be an issue on the trail. And I agreed at that time that we would close the trail those 83 hours. So the spraying is, even though their attorney is calling it a big issue, those 83 hours are not going to be a big problem as far as I can see.
And as far as I can see as a farmer in Yamhill County, I don't see it as an issue either. Thank you, Stan.
Okay, so we're trying to work around me not being able to see the chats. So another question is, was any part of the train a rail conversion. I think that maybe means any part of the trail, a rail conversion. Now I don't know, is that maybe something for Stan to answer?
Could you clarify the question? I'm not certain I understood what you were saying.
It says, was any part of the train a rail conversion?
Betrayal.
But I'm wondering if that means
Was that, are they talking maybe about when it was abandoned and
Oh.
any part of the rail system left intact?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's been clarified. That's a question actually for Shauna in San Diego.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you were talking about your rail. We don't have a rail in.
So when none of your right of way was a railroad line before?
No,
Okay.
no.
As far as ours though, Veronica, in Oregon, part of the abandonment of a railroad right of way is to take up, that they have a limited time to take up all the tracks and ties and culverts and trestles and all that. So all that is gone from this, if that's the question.
Okay, I have another question for Shauna. Can you explain how the focused planning area was formed and operates? The Yamhelas Westsider Trail is technically outside of, this is from Chehalem Park and Recreation District. So our trail right of way would technically be outside of their district, but the people in their district would benefit from it. So he's curious how you set up the focused planning area.
Sure. The focus plan. So the San Diego River Park was actually a grassroots effort started by community members, but eventually it was decided that a government agency would really was needed to kind of give it more teeth and to implement a plan. So so early on, just kind of some lines were drawn by community members representing the view shed of the river. So it really represents the valley and the hillsides that you can see from the river. And that's really what the focus planning area is. It doesn't follow, in some places it follows property lines, but mostly no, it's based really on topography. And so that was just determined early on to be the focus of the San Diego River Park. The FPA is really just a planning boundary. There's no jurisdictional legality to any of the focus planning area. Also, not all of it is public land. About 60% of it is public land. There is private land within the focus planning area, and there was a lot of controversy early on about that. But it was eventually put into policy that that no eminent domain would be, that it's just a planning boundary, no eminent domain would ever be used, and that's within our JPA agreement. And so there's some specifics about that focus planning area so as not to appear to be some sort of jurisdictional thing, but it's really just planning. So that's how it was formed. Then it became the basis for the San Diego River Park area.
Veronica, the way I understood the question, I see that Kat Rickers and Bart Rurson are on. That might be a question that could be directed to them, because I know Don Clemens has talked about that a number of times.
Yeah, they have not been set up as speakers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but that is certainly something that we can follow up in and do some communications around.
Yeah.
In the future. We have one more question, and I think this is probably the last one we have time for. And that is, how many actual personal properties are affected by the project? And I think that Ken Wright is the one with most of the answers to that question.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And Veronica, thanks. There are 4 properties that my wife Karen and I own. Three of them are the full width, the 60-foot width of the right-of-way, each a block long in the town of Carlton. There's an additional parcel outside of town, south of it, going toward McMinnville. Those of you who are familiar with the stone monument for the Yamhill Carlton viticultural area, where that's located outside of Carlton on Highway 47, that is also another parcel we own, but it's not the full width. There is a 5th piece owned by Eric Witherspoon, Eric and Annie, our veterinarian for years here in Carlton, which we sold to him, to he and Annie, and they are completely in favor of the trail, as are we. He and Annie, Karen and I are all donating all of our pieces for free to the trail. Then also there is one parcel, the Coble family at the north end, near Gaston, that own I think Wayne mentioned is a 600-foot section or so of the trail at the very north end, and they're not in favor of the trail, but they are surrounded by federal property that and a federal agency that would love to do the trail through their area for a viewing area of that natural area. So yeah, that's it. There's 6 pieces total.
Was the question about how many adjacent landowners are involved? Was that what was being asked?
The question was, how many actual personal properties are affected by the project? So I guess that could be
Everybody.
well, I think if the question is, and I think that's a number that the county has, but does one of our board members have an idea of how many landowners there are along the trail?
I have all the tax lot numbers, but and names, but I've never counted them. I don't know.
Because the trail does go through not just rural land, which of course there are not that many ownerships, is this larger tracts, but within towns, you're going through some very small properties and quite a number of that would be, you know, in within town. So there it begins to add up. Yeah.
You get out in Cove Orchard and some of those little communities like that, and the parcels are broken up fairly small as well. So you get real small. There's one little piece that's probably no bigger than a center of center of a highway. It's a sliver over there with Cove Orchards. But what happened back is that when Highway 47 was being built in 1917, 1921, it sliced through pieces of property that were contiguous with the railroad right away. And so anything in between remained with the property maybe to the west of it. So you have these tiny little pieces that are still tax lots.
And I think it is important to recognize the fact that the railroad right-of-way, that 60-foot right-of-way, is currently owned by the county. And even though it goes through property that at one time might have been something else, it is no longer belongs to those property owners. It belongs to the county.
Well, and I think it's important to point out that that's been a railroad right of way since the 1870s.
Right.
So that's not a recent change. That the ownership transfer from the railroad to the county is recent, but it's been a right of way for 150 years.
Right.
So, and I think we are past 8 o'clock. So I think that's all the questions we have time for. If we didn't get to your question, please email us info@yamhelaswestsidertrail.com and we will get back to you on those.
I want to first thank again Shauna for dropping in and giving us overview of what she's doing down there. But I also want to thank everybody else. I know there's a lot of you out there. Thank you for the interest taken tonight to come and listen. This has been an informational meeting, and like Veronica says, if there's more information that you need or if there's questions, well, do contact us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Fine. Thanks, James.
Good night.
Night. Thanks.